Hello and welcome to the Aviator's Lounge, your gateway to the freshest headlines, insider insights, and in-depth analysis of the latest developments across the Middle East aviation sector. My name is Karim Tolba, I'm the editor of the Aviator Middle East, and I'm thrilled to be your host on this exciting series. Joining me today is Prachi Patel, the deputy editor of the Aviator Middle East. Prachi, it's great to have you on board.
Thank you so much, Karim. It's a pleasure to be here.
In this episode, we'll reflect on the latest developments shaping the regional MRO sector, spotlight the key partnerships forged recently between major industry players, and dive deeper into their anticipated impact on the broader aviation industry and the region's economic landscape. The MRO Middle East event held in Dubai recently saw multiple major partnerships and agreements. Prachi, could you please share some of the noteworthy collaborations inked during the event?
So multiple agreements signed between major industry players. Joramco signed several heavy maintenance agreements. Joramco signed an agreement with the Turkish cargo airline MNG Airlines to provide the heavy maintenance services for the airline's two Airbus A300 and one A330 aircraft this year. It also signed an agreement with the European leisure airline TUI, covering 5 Boeing 787 aircraft. It also renewed an agreement with Bosat Aerospace, which has been the supplier for the company for, I believe, that more than a decade. Along with that, we've seen Saudia Technic signing several agreements. It signed an agreement with the Flyer Deal to perform 10 C checks on the airline's Airbus A320neo fleet throughout this year. Additionally, it signed an agreement with Airbus Helicopters and became the first Airbus authorized helicopter service center in the kingdom. And also signed an agreement, five-year comprehensive maintenance agreement with the helicopter company. Apart from that, Fly Dubai and Safran Nassos, they signed a comprehensive NASA support agreement. Additionally, Beyond partnered with Airbus for Airbus's Skywise health monitoring software.
Besides these agreements, I've also noticed an emerging trend that was clearly manifested during the MRO Middle East event. A lot of MRO providers are actually opting for partnerships rather than doing the work solely and exclusively. From some of the interviews that we've conducted at the event, a lot of these players have said that they are now partnering with other MRO providers across the region to provide certain services which not necessarily wouldn't necessarily be available at their own facilities. Can you tell us more about this?
Yes, of course. As you know, that the Middle Eastern fleet is about to grow more than double by 2042. So the MRO demand is there. But during the COVID pandemic, we have seen supply chain issue, and it's still going on, unfortunately. So from what we've been talking with the industry experts, the only solution they find is to collaborate with the other MRO providers to mitigate the supply chain issue and efficiently run their operations. And I personally believe that, that is the key. Collaboration is the key. Even during the panel sessions in the MRO Middle East, the MRO providers within the region, they seek the collaboration to smoothly run their operations and avoid and mitigate the supply chain related issues. The other trend, I would say that the airlines are now opting for more power by hour agreements because obviously they will need to look for the cost optimization. And from the talks we've been having with the industry experts and the trend we are seeing within the industry as well since past couple of years, major industry players within the Middle East and even globally as well, they have started they have started implementing the power by hour programs, and airlines are more likely to deploy those programs and further enhance their maintenance cost.
To dive deeper into the latest happenings in the MRO sector, we have a very special guest. In this exclusive interview, which we recorded during the MRO Middle East event, Captain Fahd Cynndy, the CEO of Saudia Technic, delves deeper into Saudi Arabia's rapidly growing MRO sector and the kingdom's blueprint for establishing a global standing as a leading aviation powerhouse. Stay tuned. Captain, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Karim, for having me.
So, diving straight into our interview, I wanted to ask you about your participation in MRO Middle East this year. What are you bringing to the table this year?
So it's a very large question condensed in a few words. Hopefully, what we'll bring into the industry this year to showcase is our drive and commitment towards ops excellence, innovation, and technology. We're of the firm belief that the maintenance, repair, and overhaul in the aerospace industry, supplementing the aviation industry, has come to a stagnation over the past decade when it comes to ingenuity. And as Saudia Technic, we were determined to leapfrog and make sure that we're a driving force for the industry collectively by introducing innovative approaches to everyday challenges. It is no secret that the industry is going through a rough patch post-COVID, especially on the supply chain issues, tremendous disruptions on the skilled talent, limited resources, and very precious capital. And we took a very long and reflective pause during COVID to see how we, in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, could come back to the industry post-COVID and say, listen, we've looked at our challenges over the years, and we think there is a new path to charter towards excellence and towards balancing quality and cost. And our answer is operational excellence approach as well as technological advancements.
Such a good answer. We're going to be diving deeper into each and every one of the challenges that you've mentioned in further detail. But first, I would like to ask you about the recent investment that the PIF has made into Saudia Technic and the planned MRO village. What value will this bring to your offering and the broader MRO sector in Saudi Arabia?
So it's accelerating the plans that were already there. As a member of the Saudia group, Saudia Technic has always held the baton when it comes to MRO services. Has always held the baton when it comes to reliability of aircraft availability and dispatchability. 69 years is this business, 69 years. It just never been beyond the immediate borders of Saudia, the airline. Maybe a few shy attempts here and there over the past 7-8 years. With a new vision, with Vision 2030 and with the National Aviation Strategy, all these plans will put on hyperspeed, hyperdrive, and to accelerate the growth, to accelerate the ambitions, to accelerate the encompassing of services and enticing of an ecosystem in the country that is capable to cater to the massive growth that we're talking about. Going from 90 million passengers to 330 million passengers, going from 200 civil aircraft to well over 900. A brand new airport, King Salman Airport, connecting the kingdom to more than 250 direct destinations, up from 90 destinations post the strategy. It's a massive undertaking to be done in just a few years. And as such, the Public Investment Fund role, amongst the many roles it has, is to come and accelerate critical businesses, to incubate new technologies, and to unleash new potential. So all three were true in the case of Saudia Technic. It was a massive due diligence that lasted a bit over a year by the Public Investment Fund to understand, is Saudia Technic the right vehicle to invest in? Alternatives, you start from scratch. We have seen that with Riyadh Air. The PIF decided to start a brand new airline in Riyadh and decided to start building a new airport in Riyadh on top of King Khalid International Airport, that is King Salman International Airport. In our case, we have proven that the DNA we have, the DNA within the Saudia group, is a precious DNA. The accumulated knowledge and expertise and know-how across the years is actually a force to celebrate. And the decision was, well, let's not start something new. Let's invest in the know-how strength that we have and make sure that we're able to size it to a scale that is able to match the growth in the kingdom and in the region as well. To us, this has been a tremendous trust in our know-how and plans, and we just want to make sure now we take that investment and deliver on it, and hopefully the delivery starts August this year when we open and commission the first portion of the MRO village.
I'm glad that you actually mentioned other players that recently entered the market. Is there maybe any partnerships in the works with Riyadh Air that you want to share with us?
So we just signed with Riyadh Air.
Okay.
Downstairs. We just like 5 minutes ago, we just signed with Riyadh Air, and also that's a sign of confidence from the industry domestically and internationally, and the capabilities that have been harnessed through the years at Saudia Technic, that we're now over the past 3 years and through the transformation of the Saudia group as a whole, Saudia Technic is included. Through that transformation, we'll bring it up to a more competitive level. We'll bring it up to a more of a world-class operation. But not only that, in our own drive, we want to make sure that we're working collaboratively with all of our partners. Today, I met with the CEO of Turkish Technic. I met with the CEO of Lufthansa Technic. I met with the CEO of other major MROs globally, including Chinese MROs, Ameco and HECO. We're in the business of collaboration. We're in the business of partnerships. Over the past couple of years, we have been recognized as service centers for multiple OEMs with exclusivity awards on critical components such as APUs, engines, and other components when it comes to avionics and entertainment. So it takes two to tango. And as such, collaboration with the OEMs and collaboration with the wider ecosystem at play is really important for us. You know, it's really important when you reflect on the growth in the world, commercial aviation-wise, going from 25,800 aircraft commercially right now to just about 36,000 airplanes in the year 2034. How many MROs are being built? What is the capacity to maintain this influx of fleet that comes in? Almost no plans except what we announced in the kingdom and working on, and what our brothers and sisters in the UAE have announced just less than a few months ago during the Dubai Air Show. When you look at the magnitude and the size of what we're building in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to serve the industry, not just the Saudi aerospace sector, but the wider industry, there is about a handful of similar sizes globally. You've got, anytime you look at the IATA website, there is between 1,200 and 1,400 airlines. You know how many MROs our size are there? Less than 20. It's a precious commodity right now that we need to drive this business forward, is to build the capacity to maintain those aircraft in the future. And this is an investment that has to be done now in order to avail the capacity 7 years down the line. So we're kind of 7 years too late as an industry. Luckily, in the kingdom and as part of Vision 2030, we foresaw that. And we did the investment early on, and the PIF came in. It's a long way to say it's accelerating the plans we've already had.
Thank you for answering my next question. I was asking about the influx and the increase, the anticipated growth in the regional fleet size, and how are you building your capacity and capabilities to actually meet that surge in demand. So with that comes too many challenges, and you tapped into some of them, including the labor shortage, also the constraints with capacity, and also the supply chain. I would like to actually tap into each and every one of them in further detail. Supply chain challenges, how are they impacting your capability to deliver, and especially when it comes to turnaround times?
So supply chain comes from tier 2, tier 3 suppliers into tier 1 suppliers, right? To have a component, to break down aircraft parts in the 4 categories it is. A piece part is a collection of nuts and bolts and small washers, and these are piece parts, right? They form an element, and those elements then come together to form a part. These parts come together to form a component. Components come together to form an aircraft. We're now developing actual overhaul of components and piece parts at Saudia Technic in response to global supply shortages. When those shortages continue and persist, that means exchanging a component and exchanging a part takes a longer period. You're better off overhauling this part completely in your facility, and you keep it and you improve on the overhauling process, which means certification, safety demonstration, quality issuance, in order to reuse it back in the aircraft. So it was a blessing in disguise. So we're developing a lot of these overhaul capabilities and a lot of these component repair capabilities. And before long, it is now part of our fundamentals of the business. To highlight that, if we take a component overhaul per se, that's aircraft jet engines. Our new jet propulsion center will be capable of producing 300 aircraft engines a year, well over 500 APUs a year. Why are we doing that? One, it's a strategic positioning to be able to overhaul your own critical components. Two, because of the supply chain shortages. OEMs are not making engines fast enough to be put in aircraft. And when an engine is removed in order to be overhauled, average, if you're really good, 120 days. We're trying to do that in under 70 days, and we're trying to do that in the kingdom for the region. Today, with my very dear colleague, the CEO of Senate, we're looking into exchanging those capabilities. We have a test cell that is built for GenX engines. And the question was, why don't we have your GenX engines from Senate in Abu Dhabi to come to Jeddah for testing and calibration, send them back to you, and vice versa. They've got capabilities in engines that we don't have capabilities in, because I believe in speciality. Then we outsource that to them. And all of a sudden, that land bridge between Abu Dhabi, Riyadh, and Jeddah is now active with critical high-value components that are being localized in the region and in the GCC and in Saudi Arabia. So we're seeing the blessings in disguise that I discussed. However, with the continuous supply chain shortages, it puts a lot of responsibility on MROs to come to the day and harness their capabilities in order to offer services, not just to the airlines now, but also to the OEMs. And that's what we've been doing since last year.
Always one step ahead. This brings me to my next question. How are you addressing the labor shortages?
So Kareem, allow me to take a step back. This is a people's to people's business. Airplanes, airlines, and MROs, engines and landing gears are just the way we transact in this business. It's the medium of transaction in the business, but it's a people's to people business. We're in the business of connecting people, connecting goods and cargo across the world, and making our planet a small village. That's what we're in the business of. We're in the business of saving time. That's what we're in the business of. Airplanes just happen to come with the territory. So as we look at labor shortages and skill, we looked at it not just from the perspective of what is the licensed mechanics and engineers. We looked at it from the visibility and the evolution of one's career. When you were in high school, maybe younger, you had an aspiration to become a journalist, I'm assuming. I had an aspiration to be a pilot. It took me a long way around. I had to do my engineering degree, I had to work in oil and gas, then I got the opportunity to become a pilot, so finally landing my dream job. Each and every one of our kids and nephews and cousins, all the workforce that is up and coming, have a dream. When they come into the aerospace industry, they fall in love with airplanes. But we look at them as a license. I look at them as dreamers. So our job was, can we attract them to dream for the long run? Can we attract them to realize their dreams for the long run? So we launched the Saudia Technic career portal. And it's not just a portal to apply a CV. It's a portal to draft what you want to be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the line, powered by AI, powered by ChatGPT. So you interact with the portal and say, my name is Kareem, I'm 17 years of age, here's my high school degree, I would like to become a part of this industry. I'll say, Kareem, great. Do you want to be in engineering? Do you want to be in mechanics? Do you want to be a pilot? What part of aircraft do you fall in love with? Do you want to be in design? Do you want to be a troubleshooter? Do you enjoy fixing plumbing and wiring at your home? Do you enjoy troubleshooting? Do you enjoy taking things apart and putting them back together? And through that interaction, we get to know your personality. Through that interaction, I'm able to lay out your entire career before you even come in for training. So that is the vision. Taking it at grassroots, the moment this is done, you come in for the training. So we're building our own training school powered by Saudia Academy, an academy that has 1,100 mechanics graduating every year. It's a capacity that's unlike anything that I've seen, because it's not a force just for the kingdom or Saudia Technic. Once again, everything we do in the kingdom is for the well-being of the ecosystem globally and most importantly, regionally. And that's why we're building a 1,100 trainee school per year. The cohort will consist of over 1,100 students. So solving for the long term while attracting for the short term is our approach to this. Once again, it's not just about the license, it's about making sure the dreamers there continue to dream and realize their dreams.
That's very impressive. So taking 2 steps back actually to the partnerships, you mentioned a lot of interesting partnerships with other industry stakeholders and other market leaders. And I wanted to focus more on a specific partnership that you recently signed with Embraer. Now, can you provide more details about the specific areas of collaboration outlined in the MOU and particularly in terms of maintenance and training capabilities for the E2 jet family?
At Saudia Technic, we're OEM agnostic. Our driving force is to enable others to achieve their desired goals. Remember, we talked about the vision and what the industry truly stands for. We signed with Leonardo in helicopters, and we also signed with Airbus helicopters. We signed with Airbus commercial fleet, and we also signed with Boeing commercial fleet. From that perspective, Embraer has a desire to come into the region and saw an opportunity to connect less dense routes on their very commercially competitive products, that is the E2 jets and other portfolio products. And we're in the middle of building an MRO cluster. So our MRO village will soon go into an aerospace cluster as we start bringing in tier 3 and tier 2 manufacturers into the aerospace park. Vision to develop a homogeneous ecosystem similar to what you would see in Toulouse, similar to what you would see in Hamburg, similar to what you would see in Shanghai for the Comac commercial jet, or even in Wichita in the United States, or in South Carolina for Boeing. These are clusters and hubs of aerospace suppliers across the board, and we're building this here. Embraer is a member of that vision as they're looking to localize assembly, light manufacturing, and of course, repair and know-how capabilities for the product they intend to bring to the region. And their product, in my humble view, is an essential product to complement the growing air connectivity in the region. It's an amazing product that does 4 hours or shorter at a very cost competitive, when it comes to comparison with other narrow body jets of the leading manufacturers. So that MOU that is soon to go into an MOA is to allow Embraer to have a strong platform and a foothold to market its products for that segment.
Now,
from a CASC perspective. Yeah.
Before we move on to the localization topic, which is very, very interesting, how does Saudia Technic ensure seamless integration with other divisions within Saudia Group to provide comprehensive solutions to its customers?
So I like to think of Saudia Group as an entire ecosystem on wheels, right? Saudia is the oldest and most accomplished carrier in the country, virtue of its establishment and its tremendous success and amazing and impeccable safety records throughout the decades. Saudia Technic was given birth out of Saudia Airlines when it first started in 1945. And through that journey, we've seen strong centers of excellence flourish within the Saudia Group: the airline, the MRO, training academy, private aviation, ground services, catering, ground handling, cargo shipments. Many of these became publicly listed companies that add tremendous value to the economy. So when people think of Saudia, I urge them to think beyond the airline. It is an entire industry under the name of Saudia. And that industry now is becoming the wings of the vision, as my colleagues like to call it, which I think it's a powerful image to have, wings of a vision, carrying the vision, even though that vision and that strategy calls for creation of a rival airline, that is Riyadh Air, for creation of and the growth of Flynas, and the expansion of other adjacent sectors. But it's okay. That is the destiny of Saudia as an incubator of the sector for over 7 decades, is to do exactly this. And under that impressive and very inspiring mandate, we work very closely with all of our group partners and related companies. My training at Saudia Technic is provided by Saudia Academy. I provide services for Saudia Private Aviation for their clients. my ground services handling and ground support equipment that is needed to perform maintenance activities on the aircraft through Saudia Technic is provided by Saudi Ground Services, or SAL, which is also a member of the Saudia group, and vice versa. And very quickly you see the synergy of the group internally, but also the offering externally is massive. And as I said, we just signed with Riyadh Air, and we're just having a discussion with the folks at FlyNAS. We're maintaining their Airbus 330s. So we go beyond just being one trick pony to an entire ecosystem open for everybody, because the success of all is the success of one.
Now, speaking of localization, how does Saudia Technic contribute to the localization efforts outlined in Vision 2030? You mentioned the talent development part, but I also wanted to tap into the local procurement aspect of things and localizing your supply chain.
So there's two things at play. We're not just a regular MRO, we actually manufacture things. So we have a manufacturing arm. We do manufacture for civil and non-civil sectors and military sectors, under, of course, the guidance of both the Regulatory Civil Aviation Authority, GACA, and the GAMI, the custodian of the Military Regulatory Agency, in partnership with the OEMs. So we are manufacturing, and we also offload a lot of what we do to the private sector in the kingdom and entice them to create their manufacturing capabilities. I think in the kingdom right now, we're focusing in the aerospace sector on building a tier 3 and a tier 2 stronghold supplier manufacturing arm. Within the next few years, we'll be ready to leap into a tier 1 supplier. And our role is to continue to harness that power. So we're not just about repairing or replacing, we're actually about manufacturing as well. A nation that does not make will eventually break. And that's a motto we live by in the aerospace sector, and the energy sector, and consumer goods and pharmaceutical. You see across the kingdom that ethos comes into play. So it's not just about what is a transaction, it's what is a transaction to stay, and how can you do it time and time again with your own local resources and your own local talent and your own local engineers at a world-class acceptance.
I couldn't have said it better. Now, moving on to my last question for today, and my favorite topic really, looking at the future. Looking ahead, can you tell us more about Saudia Technic's priorities and plans for expansion in the next 5 years?
So I always like to look it through my crystal ball. I have a crystal ball that every now and then I go and peek through and see if I could see through the fog. If I were to project forward what Saudia Technic role will be in the industry, I have to talk about the industry itself. Remember when we talked about this being a people-to-people business, airplanes just happens to be the tools we use? I'm a firm believer in the next 15 to 20 years, there will be a firm evolution in the air travel industry, not in terms of the physics of airplanes and engines. That is not going to change for the next 50 years. It's a different discussion. But in terms of efficiency to flying. So I expect airplanes will be dealt with the same way we deal with trains. You show up 5 minutes before your flight, you hop on and off you go. Because saving time is the essence of this industry. Not spending 4 hours in queues, 3 hours at airports and 2 hours at duty free. Coming in 5 to 10 minutes before my flight and still catching the flight perfectly. That requires an evolution in every aspect that touches the airplane, especially in maintenance. What can we do to maintain the aircraft at bay? Avoid tugging, towing, taking to a hangar, bring him back, doing this. What can I do right there? Deployment to drones. Artificial intelligence and the ability to detect the surface of the aircraft as it's landing. So I know through advanced algorithms what needs to be repaired before the airplane even comes. And we have those sensors right now active. We just do not have the systems to capture the influx of data that comes in. And we do not have yet the just-in-time processes to prepare mobile services when the aircraft lands to tackle exactly what we need to tackle. So being laser-focused and precision-driven going forward in the next 15 to 20 years is something we're going to be bringing in. How do we start doing this? Through investments in technology, through advancement in advanced diagnostics, through investments in allocation of resources with the concepts of assembly and manufacturing in mind. That is the just-time principles. Through evolutions in quality checks. As you do, you check. As you do, you check in real time. If you come and see our people right now, who are men and women I'm super proud of, you think you're looking at a Robocop. So they've got a sensor that is ST Nova that feeds everything around them, and we're able to monitor what they do for the purpose of turning that service of maintenance into a pit stop in Formula One. You come in, you stop for a second and a half. What we do in that second and a half, by God, is a miracle. We want to get to that pit stop concept. So they've got the ST Nova sensor, but that's a whole different discussion. I invite you to see it downstairs. On top of that, they have the body cam. Body cams. We're the first MROs in the world to employ body cams with live feed to engineers sitting in. We centralized engineering because talent is precious. But how do I centralize engineering? They have to have visibility into what's happening with the mechanics and real life correspondence and dialogue. Now, where did that happen? We've seen it in the medical field, where somebody in Canada is able to perform robotic surgery on somebody in Japan. Why? Because time is of the essence. They cannot travel back and forth, and you need to have steady access to top skill and talent. So we're able to deploy technology to leap forward to that pit stop concept, eventually leading to every passenger going to the airplane as if it's a train at a platform. I think looking through the crystal ball, we're taking a leap at Saudia Technic by employing a lot of these fundamental elements to allow us to do that. And we'll be at the forefront of this industry when everybody else realizes this is where we're headed. Because once again, we travel not because it is the best form of travel. We travel because it's the most convenient and fastest form of transportation. That's why we travel in airplanes.
This was truly insightful. Thank you, Captain Cynndy, and thank you, Prachi, for the exciting conversation.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Thanks for joining us today. Don't forget to catch our next episodes for more aviation insights, in-depth analysis, and engaging discussions. Subscribe to theaviatorme.com and follow us on Spotify for more exclusive content. Join our social community on LinkedIn, X, Facebook, and Instagram. Until next time, we wish you safe skies.